thing. The very first thing you're going to do is retract the stabilizer legs on the front and the back. So this says extend, this says retract. Shoot a video down there of the stabilizer legs coming up. So you just raise them up, they come up individually, they're on one string, and they stop when they're done, like that. And then do the same thing with the rear. You might notice that when they come up, one doesn't seem like it's moving and the other one does. Don't worry, they won't get stuck. It's based on friction. When that one stops, the other one will come up. So just make sure you go until they both come all the way up. Propane tanks, we send extras sometimes. If these are near empty, you'll have some full ones that you can bring with you and swap out. So whether you have full or empty, when you're going on the road, we store them in the bathroom together. Just make sure you keep them near the door and don't throw one in and break the pedal off of the toilet. Thing will be to bring the slider in. Make sure that nothing is interfering with it on the outside or on the inside. It doesn't push things. And then you just use this button here to bring it all the way in. Find is that the first thing you think of unhooking is unhooking all the plumbing and electrical, but that's the last thing you want to do, because it never fails that somebody in your family is going to need to use the restroom or need to look inside, and they're going to need a light on, or it's going to be hot, or it's going to be cold, or something like that, or a kid needs the air conditioner or the heater or whatever. Those are the last things we're going to unhook. So we're going to go ahead and hitch up to the vehicle and stuff, but remember that the plumbing and electric are still on until the very, very end of us getting ready to pull out. Now that this stabilizer legs are all retracted, it's safe to raise the hitch up so that we can hook it. If you do it before then, you will break the legs in the back, which a previous renter has already done, and we're going to have those replaced. But please do not raise this without retracting the front and rear stabilizer legs. If you'll take a look around the corner, what we have holding the trailer in place, people think the stabilizer legs are doing that, but if you get a shot of the X chock between the wheels, you got to climb up there. In between the wheels, those are clamped against each other so the trailer cannot roll away. That's what holds the trailer in place, not the stabilizer legs. Okay? And those do let the trailer pivot. So we're going to turn on the power, go shoot down here so they know what switches do what. This goes down when you're parked, goes up when you're going to use the power jack. We're going to raise it up until we get it high enough to hitch onto our vehicle. You'll notice if you come down that the ball does not need to be centered or way back here. You want it near the front of this opening. Otherwise, this little tongue underneath here is going to catch the ball and you'll think you're on and you won't be. You kind of want the weight of the trailer to pull forward onto the ball. So this switch works as an up and down lever. When you want the tongue to go down, you push down. You'll notice it pulling itself onto the ball, and then the vehicle will pop back up. All right, now we've taken the weight off there. Now we can latch this, and it locks in solidly. We're going to attach the safety brakes through. They should always be in one of these hooks. And hook those up. Pause.
So they're hooked to the hitch.
Okay, so you always want to make sure, of course, that you plug your camper up. This not only powers the brakes, if you have a brake controller, But even if you don't, that also uses the car's alternator to charge the battery. So when you're traveling, the battery stays charged up, and you can use some of the simple stuff. And that's the brake cable. That's it's a breakaway brake, so that if everything comes loose, it yanks a safety brake that locks the tires up and stops the camper from rolling down the highway. So we're going to show you how to put the sway bars on now. These are sway bars. They're like 30 pounds a piece. They're kind of heavy. And this is just a little helper tool. And we'll do this side first, and then we'll swap over. These go on with a cotter pin. You pull it real hard, and these help keep the sway bar in place. The sway bars fit in here, and there's a notch where they grab. This is kind of a V, so sometimes you have to move it around for it to grab. When it's in, it will not come out. And you'll notice it's there, and you're not going to lift that up. So the way to get that to come up is to lift. After this is all hooked up, you're going to lift the tongue. It lifts the tow vehicle and the camper at the same time. And if you scooch back a little bit so that they can see what's going on with the geometry, it'll probably help a little. You'll see that as it comes up, the sway bar will eventually clear that. Now, if you have a heavy vehicle, it might take a while depending on how the trailer's angled and stuff. Sometimes it's not that easy, and you might have to come way further up, but it will do it. It even lifts my other big, heavier truck. Then you put this in like this, so that this keeps the sway bar in. Do not put it sideways or like this. It won't do its job. It needs to keep that sway bar in place. And then you have to put the cotter pin in. Now we're going to go on the other side and do the other sway bar. All right, the cotter pins are kind of a pain to get off sometimes, so just a little trick. I put this hook in there, and then you're going to need to scoot back, and then take this and pop the pin out.
Oh.
Now you'll notice the other side went in, but because of the way the driveway is here, the parking camping spot, this side is still a couple inches below, so we just have to lift this up some more. Now, sometimes you'll go as high as that can go and say your sway bar still doesn't get in. Well, you're not stuck. That's what this tool is for. You swing this out, get the hook of this in the little square, put the sway bar right in this curved part, and make sure that's hooked good, and then lift up until that pops in, and then you want to kick it in with your foot. It'll snap into place. Carefully put your pin in there, and the cotter pin on that side, and now you're set. After that's done, both pins and both cotter pins, lower the camper onto the tow vehicle's hitch, and continue lowering until this foot comes all the way up. All right. Now, a common mistake is to go and take this out. Oh, we're loose, and then forget to bring that up, and you drive along and you go into a dip, and this gets bent, which will no longer work, and we'll need to buy a replacement jack. So let's not do that. Make sure you run it all the way up. And now it's counterintuitive because you're pushing down for that to come up, but it's because you're basically, that's the motion that lowered the hitch. Done. Then turn the switch from on, which is up, down, and this little light turns on and off. So you turn the jack off, and the light will go off. So all the 6x6s, this tool, everything that we use for hooking up the trailer and jacking it and lifting it and chocking the wheels, all goes on the driver's side. So it's the first side you come to. We store everything in there, and other things like the chairs and camping type things go on this other side, on the other side over there. That way everything that you need is on one side. Okay, we're hooked up to the tow vehicle, so it's safe for us to take the wheel chocks out and the septic. We'll still leave the electric and the water on for a moment. Now, if you have on-site septic like this is the time to dump the black water and rinse the black water tank. It's very simple, and you don't have to hardly do anything, so don't be afraid about that. You need someone to stand here and hold their foot when you dump anything, and then the other person will be moving around, but you never want that to pop out. Now, some of them thread. This one was threaded, supposed to be threaded. It's common to find that the threads have been kind of boogered up by other people, and so yours will not thread in anyways, so hence the foot holding of holding everything in place. What you want to do is you're going to go to your water supply, turn it off. Then you're going to come back over here. To this little panel, there's a shower. Pull this out, we're going to let the pressure off. Turn your cold water and your hot water, they both turn outwards. What we're doing is we're letting the pressure off the water hose out there. With that, this pulls out a little bit too. Okay, with that open, come over here to this green hose, white hose junction. We always use the green hose for this next step, never the white one. Around the back of the camper, but it's easier to just make sure you kind of pull that through. And you're going to come right here to this, right beside the bathroom door. This pulls off, it doesn't turn, it just pops off. Okay, and then this turns, and you're going to thread this gently in here. This has a like a flushing system, so we're going to pressurize this with the water, and it's going to flush very thoroughly the septic system with fresh water. Now we're going to, before you do that, come over here and turn these back off. Toward the center is off, so counterclockwise for that one, clockwise for that one. Kind of a weird thing, but you got the video, so it's going to be easy. That clips in there. That goes down and back up. Now come on over here. Before you turn the water on, you close both of these, which is pushing them in. Turning does nothing. Those are just, they just swivel endlessly. But close them by pushing them in. Now this one on the right, you'll notice it says wastewater holding tank. That's the right side. Gray tank number 1 is the left side. This is the black water. We're going to dump the black water by slowly pulling that out. You don't have to do anything with that now. Now you're going to come over here and turn on your water. You'll notice that this is a little bit clear. So black water is what it sounds like. It's kind of brown. It's not clear. we're going to dump until it is clear, because what we're doing is we're spraying fresh water in the top, and it's got a bunch of nozzles and hoses that flushes that tank. So just let it run. And we will have a set of ramps here soon, so this will be not as difficult as what I'm doing. This is all sealed, and the only thing you got to do is a time or two. If you just hand over hand this hose, make sure you got a person keeping their foot very carefully on the end, like my daughter's doing, and then leave it there for a second. Maybe wait for a minute. So this is if we don't have ramps. Normally we would have ramps that would descend and hold the hose in place. But if you don't have them, like we ended up today, this will fill up because it's a little bit uphill, of course, from right here. And so, but it's filling with fresh water. So then after it gets feeling full, just go ahead and do that again. Hand over hand. And that's going to flush, clean out the tube, and you know, third time's a charm. So ideally it'll be set up like this, and the ramps basically are staggered, so they are little wire hangers that keep the hose sloped gently. There's a series of them, and you just put them in a series around the hose so that it'll descend however that's set up. Important, we don't want a clean, dry septic tank. Dry septic tanks are bad. We're going to push the black tank closed. The gray tank you could dump now. We've been running ours open continuously, which is okay. So when you're hooked up to an on-site septic, you can keep the gray one open the entire time you're camping. That's the left one. You must close the black one. You can't let it go through there. It'll clog up this hose and it'll be a real mess. When you're camping and you have on-site septic, you can leave the gray water open. Always close the black water. Even if you have to dump it every day, the black water tank is never left open. It's always left closed and dumped as a unit when it gets full. It's better actually for campers to have that tank fill all the way up and then dump it than to dump it every day. So don't be too proactive and dump it really often. It's better to wait until it's full, which you'll be able to tell from the toilet. Usually when it starts getting full, you can start seeing water down in there, and then you can dump it. Otherwise, leave it shut all the time and just dump it once at the end of your weekend. If it's like 3-4 days, you probably will only dump it once. And if you have on-site septic, you can leave the gray one open like we said. However, if you don't have on-site septic and it's one where you dump it on the way out, you would leave both of them closed. Some campsites will let you dump gray water on the campsite because it's just like the stuff that goes down the sink, but many will not. Where you're going to dump on the way out, if you're going to do that, save your gray water until it's full, because you will dump your black water first and then you'll dump your gray water, and that's what will flush the tank.
Go.
I mean, when we're on. Is that what is?
I said go.
Just cut. So we've been letting this run for a couple minutes. Now we're going to turn our water supply off. This is what was spraying out our black water system. And we're going to go over here and unhook it from the other side. This goes in the utilities cabinet. This is how we hook up our fresh water. You'll see that this is city connection. The filter is the last thing before the water goes into the camper. The reason we do that and don't hook the filter up to the water supply out there, number one, it could be like in the ground, but also if there ever was anything that was gross, I don't know, in the white hose, I want it filtered out just before it gets to the clean water space. So then I just hold this like this, let this hang down. This is our good, clean, fresh water supply. Normally you'll just use this one unless you need the green hose to reach it. But this is important. At least it's important to me. I connect the ends of my hose together. We want this to be a sealed system. We don't want ants or lizards or something crawling in the hose, and then we push them through into the filter. So this does not go in the utility cabinet. This goes in the outdoor kitchen. Call me picky, but I like my fresh water to be in a clean storage space. So this is a refrigerator. This refrigerator is your go-to refrigerator if you need something cold quickly when you first get on site, because the propane electric combination one inside takes a day to cool off. It's how they're made. Please, before you drive, connect this strap to hold the fridge in place. If you don't, it slides around and gets dented up. But just that will keep it from getting damaged, and it'll be used by everybody there. So make sure you hook that up. But that will be cold immediately after you plug it up. It'll chill stuff down really fast. Okay. So make sure you fold these in. This one pivots, so don't end up going like that. Make sure we pivot this one in. And we purposely, these are not greased. They're made to be stiff so that they don't flop open while you're driving down the road. And then this pushes in, it's got a handle. Same thing to open it. Pull down, pull down. Okay. We provide rubber gloves in the utility cabinet. Please wear them when you're dealing with the septic system. Here's where the septic hose is going to go. Carefully drilled holes. There's no nut or bolt or anything. This stays in here, but take one out first. Leave the other one in. This goes in the utility cabinet. Short piece. Different situations. And then this that turns just a quarter turn and that shuts. And then I start with this small end and start pushing it in the bumper. At a certain point, it gets stiff, like it doesn't want to go in anymore. That's good. And you hold it with your hand, and you're going to push it in far enough so that this here, maybe get a close-up shot of this. It's going to be real hard for them to figure out. This is supposed to go over the back. If this is nice and excuse me, if this is nice and tight, it's not going to hop out while you're driving down the road. This springs open and keeps it. But if you put it sideways this way, it might come loose and hop out. I'm not sure, but that's all there is to that. And this one over here is in as well. So if for some reason it's the exact same thing. Make sure they match each other before you're done. So we're going to unhook the electric now. And that is a spinning connector right here. It unthreads. This is kind of tricky to hook up. You want to make sure that you go counterclockwise to unthread things, but when you hook things up, especially when they're really finely threaded like this, it's good to go counterclockwise when you hook it up as well at first to make sure that it squares up. And when you feel it click, right there, you know it's right in the position to tighten it up. That just helps you get the threads all lined up straight. And this is there's a slight swivel to this. That's unlocked. Straight up and down is locked. And then you swivel that or tighten up those threads. So undo it till it's loose, then turn this whole thing a little bit counterclockwise. Gently wiggle it loose. Okay. And if you have trouble coiling this up, it coils counterclockwise. We have it sort of trained that way. That means the wires are all used to turning in that direction. So if you turn this left hand forward, then this will just fall in right where it's supposed to be. This also goes in the utility cabinet. Right. So these are the wheel chocks. This little wrench works both ways. You can change the direction. So I leave it on here like this during the time while we're camping. You're going to turn the nut or bolt counterclockwise. So you're going to be pushing with no noise, and then it'll click. Push with no noise, click. Push with no noise, click. Keep going. Hold this handle while you're doing it. And then you can keep going. If it won't come back, just go around to your left. A couple more turns, you're almost done. And then don't close it all the way. Just carry it with you like this. Go around to the other side. Same thing right here. Put this on. This goes over to the right. Push with no noise. Click, coming back. Push with no noise. Click, coming back. Keep going until it gets easier. And then just go left all the way around to them, just like this. That way, if you collapse them all the way, it's like a 5-minute ordeal of opening them up enough to fit the tires. But if you leave them like this, they're ready for the next person. We stick them right in here. Over on the right, they got a little handle. Same thing here, all the way in there. Please make sure you put those in last. If you're following our instructions, it'll be fine. If you put them in and then throw the 6x6s on them, they might bend. And we just leave this right here as well. Okay, to leave now, you have one more thing that you have to do before you can take off. You're all hooked up, tow vehicle's running. You're gonna check and make sure that we turn off all the electricity inside. And we have leveling blocks to level this thing side to side. We're on them right now. So we're gonna pull up 4 or 5 feet until we're clear of the leveling blocks, and then I'll show you how we put them together. Okay, turn off all the lights. You don't have to go through and turn everything off. You can just come over here. Before you start hauling, there's green showing, and see this notch? You're going to turn it till that notch is over on the red spot. And this little spot will be facing up. That turns all the power to the camper off. Last, you can lift the stairs up. Open the door all the way, don't do what I did. Open the door all the way. This little part clicks and holds it in place. And then you shut your door. And leave that up for a second. These are the blocks I'm talking about moving. Okay, so here's your leveling blocks. These are each 1 inch. So they stack up on each other like this. All the yellow ones. And then the yellow ones go on top of the black one. And then this threads through all of them into the black one that's threaded.